Ancient Cultures and Our Culture by Elizabeta Lamacos. Greek and Roman cultures alive today. The Olympic Games, theater, history, architecture, and medicine are parts of our lives today. What do they have in common? They are a few of the things today that are influenced by the ancient cultures of Greece and Rome. Many of our ideas about government, literature, medicine, and entertainment come from these two ancient cultures. The history of ancient Greece, the first civilizations. About 4,000 years ago, the first Greeks lived on Crete, a small island off the coast of Greece. They built palaces and large ships. They traded with people living in nearby lands, and they fought with those people too. They lived on Crete for over 1,000 years. Then they mysteriously disappeared. The Dark Age of Greece. People today know little about Greece between the years 1100 and 800 BC. That is why this time in Greek history is called the Dark Age. We know that Greece was filled with farming villages that had little contact with the rest of the world. By 800 BC, Greek armies began to conquer the people who lived in parts of Europe and Africa. The Greek people began to trade with other countries. They learned art, writing, tool-making, and shipbuilding from their trading partners. Conquer, to fight with and defeat. The city-states. By 700 BC, Greece had changed from farming villages to city-states. A city-state was usually formed by a small city surrounded by farming areas. Each city-state had its own form of government. Some city-states had democratic governments. All citizens could vote on laws, and they could also vote for their leaders. Other city-states were ruled by kings or groups of old people. For over 400 years, Greece was a powerful country. Many countries learned about government, art, and science from Greece. Greece's control ended when the Roman civilization began to rise and gain strength. The history of ancient Rome. Rome's first republic. From 753 to 509 BC, many different kings ruled Rome, the capital city of Italy. By 509 BC, the aristocrats, or rich Romans, had grown tired of kings. The aristocrats wanted more power. They organized the poor people of Rome, called plebeians, to overthrow the king. They promised the poor Romans more control over their own lives. Together, the aristocrats and plebeians overthrew the king. The aristocrats made a republic. A republic is a system where citizens vote and elect officials to represent them. The Romans could elect senators. The senators would make laws for the people of Rome. The end of the republic. By 146 BC, Rome was the only power in the lands around the Mediterranean Sea. But there was trouble in the city of Rome. The common people of Rome were fighting to own more land. In addition, people in other Italian cities were upset because they did not have much power of their own. Sulla, a general in Italy's army, became very powerful. He marched to Rome with his army, and he declared himself dictator of Rome. For the next 400 years, emperors ruled the Roman world. Some conquered new lands. After 400 years of power, Rome was defeated by enemies from the north, east, and west. Chariot racing was an event in the ancient Olympic Games. Greek and Roman influence on our culture. The ancient Greek and ancient Roman civilizations were conquered, but their cultures did not die. Today, we can see parts of their cultures in our sports, language, architecture, and government. The ancient Olympic Games. The Greeks began the Olympics as a religious festival to honor their most important god, Zeus. In the first Olympic Games, athletes played in sporting events including chariot racing, the javelin throw, wrestling, running, discus, and the long jump. Fans came from all over the Greek world to watch the Olympic Games. Today, men and women from all over the world compete in the modern Olympic Games. The Olympics today. Today, the Olympic Games are similar in many ways to the ancient Olympics. Athletes still compete in the javelin throw, wrestling, running, discus, and the long jump. People come from all over the world to watch athletes compete in these exciting games. There are also many differences between today's Olympic Games and those played in ancient Greece. Athletes from all over the world play in the Olympics. They are held in a different city every time they are played. There are both summer and winter Olympics now. Hundreds of new events are included in today's Olympics. Diving, skiing, and ice skating are some of the events in the modern Olympics that weren't in the ancient Olympics. Despite these differences, the idea, the spirit of competition, and the excitement of the Olympic Games comes to us from the ancient Greeks. The Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. The Parthenon in Athens, Greece. Greek architecture. Ancient Greek builders used solid white columns, high pointed roofs, and carved decorations in their buildings. The Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. clearly shows the Greek style of architecture. Can you find the parts of the building that look Greek? Root words. The English language uses many Greek and Latin root words. A root word is the main part of the word to which other parts, such as prefixes or suffixes, can be added. Latin. Root word scribe, meaning to write. Example, describe. Latin. Root word dict, meaning to say. Example, diction. Greek. Root word chron, meaning time. Example, chronological. Greek. Root word dem, meaning people. Example, democracy. Can you find words with these roots in this book? The Metropolitan Opera House in New York City. The Colosseum in Rome, Italy. Roman architecture. Ancient Roman builders invented cement and used bricks. They also used arches, which are curved structures above doors, windows, and gateways. With these materials and structures, the Romans made great temples, palaces, and stadiums. Today, we still use those kinds of materials and structures to make buildings. Look at the pictures on this page. One of them shows a modern building that uses Roman-style architecture. What parts of Roman-style architecture do you see in this picture? Have you seen this type of architecture in your town? What are the differences between this style and the Greek style on the previous page? In the architecture of buildings in America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, we can see the influence of ancient Greece and Rome. Ancient Greek and Roman ideas in government. The ancient Greek and Roman cultures had a significant effect on governments around the world. For example, the United States government is a combination of a Greek democracy and a Roman republic. Every American citizen votes, as in a democracy, but the citizens also vote for people who will make laws for the country, as in a republic. Checks and balances in the United States. To avoid a dictatorship or an empire like the Roman Republic, the United States government uses a system of checks and balances. The President works with the Supreme Court and the Congress to run the country. Each part checks on the other parts. The parts balance one another. The Congress. The President of the United States is elected by the people and must follow or obey the law. The Supreme Court is a group of judges who make sure the U.S. government acts in ways that follow the Constitution. The Constitution is a list of laws and rights of the American people. The Congress is a group of elected men and women who help the President and the Supreme Court by making laws and decisions for the country. Some other democratic countries have governments that are similar to the United States system in some ways. Ancient Greeks and Romans played board games like checkers. The ancients' influence on you. So you see, the ancient cultures of Greece and Rome have greatly influenced our culture. Whether it is the sports we play, or how we construct our buildings, or how we run our government, we use many ideas from the ancient cultures. How is your life influenced by ancient Greece and Rome? Look around you. Think about your weekly schedule. What sports do you play or watch on television? Do any of those games come from the ancient Greeks? What buildings do you go into each day? Do any of those buildings have arches or bricks that look like those of the ancient Romans? How do the laws and freedoms of this country influence you? How do you feel about the United States government? As you think about some of these questions, you will discover just how much the ancient Greek and Roman cultures are alive in you. Talk about it. Number 1. What parts of the buildings in the pictures on pages 8, 9, and 10 show that modern buildings have been influenced by ancient Greek and Roman buildings? Number 2. What are the differences between a republic and a democracy? Write about it. Number 3. On a separate sheet of paper, draw a flow chart that shows how the cultures of ancient Greece and Rome have influenced aspects of our culture today. Extend language. Modern languages, such as English, use Greek word parts in modern words. The Greek word part logi means the study of, bio means life, and biology means the study of life. If psych means the mind, what does psychology mean?